In our everyday lives, we often make decisions without realizing that we are influenced by invisible psychological factors. So what exactly governs human behavior when faced with proposals, advertisements, or persuasion? In the classic book, Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion, psychologist Robert B. Cialdini identified the 6 most fundamental principles. These principles seem simple and familiar, but are incredibly powerful. They not only explain why we are prone to say yes, but also help us communicate and negotiate effectively, consciously, and ethically. Principle 1. Reciprocity. The reciprocity principle is one of the most powerful foundations of persuasion. It rests on a universal social rule. When someone gives us something, we feel obligated to return the favor. This is not just a social norm. It is a global instinct inherent in nearly every culture, from primitive tribes to modern societies. We often agree to a request simply because we have previously received a small favor, even if it was unasked. A classic example is charitable organizations sending small gifts like desk calendars, postcards, or pens before requesting donations. Response rates typically increase significantly compared to when nothing is sent. Although the gift may hold little monetary value, it triggers a feeling of indebtedness, making it difficult to refuse the subsequent request. Another interesting phenomenon is the unequal reciprocity rule. That is, people may feel compelled to reciprocate with an action or gift much larger than what they initially received. This paves the way for highly effective sales tactics, such as when a supermarket employee invites a customer to try a free food sample. The small gesture may lead the customer to buy an entire package. However, we must note that this principle is easily exploited for manipulation. Therefore, recognizing and understanding how reciprocity works not only helps you become a more effective communicator, but also protects you from subtle tactics in marketing, sales, or social relationships. Principle 2. Commitment and consistency. This principle asserts that people tend to act consistently with their previous commitments, especially when those commitments are expressed publicly, verbally, or in writing. Consistency provides a sense of stability, logic, and trustworthiness, not only to others but also to ourselves. Once we have committed to something, we often strive to maintain consistency with that behavior, even when it is no longer rational. A notable example is the front yard sign experiment. When asked to place a large, unattractive sign in front of their home to support traffic safety, most people declined. However, among those who had previously agreed to place a small sticker with the same message on their window a few days earlier, the rate of agreeing to the larger sign increased significantly. Because they had made that initial small commitment, they wanted their behavior to remain consistent with the image they had already conveyed. This principle is also widely applied in business and marketing. For instance, when customers fill out a free trial form or nod in agreement to a simple question like, "Do you care about your health?" they are making an initial commitment to a belief. From that point, they are more likely to accept larger proposals, such as purchasing a health product, to remain consistent with their original commitment. Of course, this principle can be abused, leading people to continue irrational behavior just to save face. Therefore, understanding the power of commitment and consistency helps you persuade others more effectively while staying alert to subtle manipulations. Principle 3. Social proof. The social proof principle states that when people are unsure about the correct behavior, they often look at others' actions to guide their own. In other words, we believe that if many are doing something, it must be the right thing to do. This psychological mechanism helps us make quick decisions in complex or unfamiliar situations. A simple example is how busy restaurants tend to attract more customers, even if those waiting know nothing about the food quality. Just seeing a crowd implies this place must be good. In comedic TV shows, canned laughter is inserted not to highlight the joke, but to prompt viewers to laugh along. That is manufactured social proof. In marketing, social proof is leveraged via product reviews, follower counts, sales numbers, or real user testimonials. A product labeled "trusted by over 1 million customers" inspires much more trust than one without any highlights. However, social proof can lead to dangerous herd behavior, especially when many people act wrongly but are still considered correct. The impact is particularly strong when the people observed are similar to us in age, status, or circumstances. Understanding this principle helps you harness crowd psychology effectively in communication and sales, while also staying aware of unconscious societal influences. Principle 4. Liking. The liking principle asserts that we are more likely to be persuaded by people we like or feel affection towards. Because emotions often play a major role in decision-making, liking becomes a powerful, persuasive tool. Even if an idea is not entirely rational, we may agree with it if the presenter makes us feel comfortable, friendly, or trustworthy. There are several key factors that enhance likability in communication. The first is physical attractiveness. Attractive people are often perceived as more intelligent, kind, and trustworthy, even if this does not reflect actual ability. The second is similarity. We feel closer to people who share our interests, background, style, or opinion. The third is compliments. Everyone enjoys praise. Even simple compliments can create a positive connection and open minds. The fourth is familiarity. The mere exposure effect shows that repeated contact with someone increases our tendency to like them. Another factor is cooperation. When people work together toward common goals, they tend to bond more and develop deeper liking. In business, this principle is widely applied. Successful salespeople are not only technically skilled, but also know how to build personal rapport and likability before making a pitch. Many companies use brand ambassadors with attractive images or relatable personalities to create emotional connections with customers. However, liking can be used manipulatively. When feelings override objectivity, we become vulnerable to psychological traps and poor decisions. That's why understanding this principle helps you persuade effectively while avoiding manipulation through charm alone. Principle 5. Authority. The authority principle asserts that people tend to follow advice, requests, or commands from those deemed credible, powerful, or highly knowledgeable. Since childhood, we've been taught that listening to parents, teachers, doctors, or people with official titles is the right thing to do. In society, respect for authority not only becomes a norm, but also helps us save time when making decisions in complex situations. One famous example is psychologist Stanley Milgram's obedience experiment. In that study, participants were instructed to administer electric shocks to others under the guidance of a person wearing a white lab coat, symbolizing a doctor or expert. The results showed that most participants continued performing potentially harmful actions simply because they trusted the authority of the instructor. This illustrates the profound influence of authority on human behavior. In reality, authority is often communicated through appearance, uniforms, lab coats, suits, titles, doctor, director, expert, and affiliation with reputable institutions. For example, a product certified by a doctor or a book introduced by a well-known expert will immediately garner more trust in consumers' eyes. In marketing and media, this principle is widely used. Companies often feature specialists, celebrities, or industry influencers to increase persuasive impact. However, not everyone who appears authoritative is truly trustworthy, and blind respect for authority can lead to serious consequences. Therefore, Understanding how authority shapes behavior helps you ethically build credibility, while remaining vigilant against fake authority and manipulative tactics. Principle 6. Scarcity. The scarcity principle is rooted in a basic psychological truth. People tend to value things more when they are rare, limited, or about to vanish. When a product, opportunity, or piece of information becomes scarce, it appears more valuable, not because of its inherent worth, but due to the fear of losing it, which pushes us to act quickly and sometimes irrationally. A typical example is marketing using phrases like, "Only 3 items left," "Offer ends today," or "Sale until 11:59 p.m., tactics that trigger the fear of missing out, FOMO. The feeling of limited choice makes people covet the scarce item more intensely, sometimes irrationally. This phenomenon occurs not only in consumer behavior but also in social contexts. For instance, someone may seem more attractive if they are difficult to reach or seem valued. Similarly, information that is forbidden or hidden often becomes more intriguing and desirable than content available publicly. The scarcity effect amplifies further when combined with competition. Seeing others scrambling for the same limited item increases our own desire, whether it's concert tickets, flash sale deals, or early access to a training session. These are vivid examples of the power of scarcity. And of course, scarcity can be manipulated to pressure consumers into hurried decisions without proper consideration. Understanding this principle helps you apply it effectively in business and communication, while maintaining clarity when faced with artificial urgency or opaque sales tactics. Finally, take a moment to reflect. Which of these principles have you personally experienced? Or in what situations do you often make rushed decisions? Which principle do you find most challenging? And would you like to explore it further to better understand and overcome it? Let me know.